Australia is blessed with an abundance of coal, natural gas, sunshine and wind, but it doesn't have too many places where we can store the energy, the electrical energy. First one we were looking at was in Queensland at Wivenhoe Pumped Hydro, which is sharing the lower dam with the main water supply for Brisbane. In an earlier video we looked at Wivenhoe Pumped Hydro Energy System in Queensland, and we saw that it runs for 8 hours, and given the price of electricity on the particular day of the study, the system would make $149 per megawatt hour for that particular day. Now, what we're trying to do is work out how much it's costing to build this. And so we come down to the figures. Wivenhoe at 570 megawatts produces 4,783 megawatt hours during any day, fully functioning, and was opened in 1984 at a capital cost of $450 million. In $24, it would be $1.69 billion to build the facilities at the moment. So in 2024 dollars, that means that these 4,738 megawatt hours each would cost $358,000 to build. At the rate of $149 per megawatt hour per day, it would take 2,405 days to pay for the Wivenhoe scheme. And the Wivenhoe, being a pumped hydro, has a life where the turbines probably need to be replaced at about 60 years of age, so that the whole of the cost per megawatt hour for Wivenhoe is unchanged at $358,000 per megawatt hour. We then went and looked in South Australia at what we can do for pumped hydro, and we also briefly mentioned batteries. The most famous battery is this Hornsdale battery, and if we zoom in close, we'll see this battery. This is Hornsdale A, the original battery, and this is a later battery with a substation connecting it to the main power lines within South Australia. The other one, which has been completed, is on Torrens Island, and it's at the back of the Torrens Island gas-fired power stations. But this is the Torrens Island BESS battery energy storage system. What we're going to do is compare the cost per day per megawatt hour of energy using pumped hydro compared to battery storage. We now look at the batteries and see Hornsdale battery A, B and the Torrens Island battery. The Hornsdale A is 100 megawatt hours, and it was built in 2017 with a ability to produce 129 megawatt hours at a capital cost of $90 million. Come forward from 2017 to 2024, it would probably cost $112 million to build today, which means the cost per megawatt hour is $873,000, which is greater than what the Wivenhoe cost to build for the same amount of energy, which means it would take 5,858 days to pay, and the life of a battery isn't 60 years, it'd be something less than that. So if we look at battery B, we see the figures are slightly different because prices have changed, and the 50 megawatts had the ability to produce 70 megawatt hours, built in 2020 at a cost of $82 million, with a capital cost in 2024 dollars would be $97 million, which comes at a cost per megawatt hour of $1,399,000 per megawatt hour, which means it would take 9,390 days. The thing is that with lithium batteries are also able to get some money from a synchronous feature, and so it's not just for the sale of energy as we're studying here. So there actually is probably a bit more money coming in than we're showing here. Lastly, the Torrens Island battery, more recently built, is 250 megawatts with 250 megawatt hours, built in 2023 at a cost of $130 million, which in 24 dollars would be $186 million, which is a capital cost, a smaller amount of $744,000 per megawatt hour per day unit, which means it would take 4,099. Now the reality is batteries will not last 60 years. If they were to last 6 years, you would need 9 rebuildings of the system, and so we then have the figure of $8 million per megawatt hour as compared to $358,000 per megawatt for pumped hydro. The other reality is that in the building of a battery and replacing the battery, the actual batteries aren't the full cost. And so if we say 50% of the cost is going to be the batteries, then these figures are reduced to a smaller figure, but still significantly greater than it is for pumped hydro. The other reality too is that batteries will probably last more than 6 years, so let's have it lasting 15 years. If they're lasting 15 years, you'll have 3 rebuildings occurring, and again with this 50% of the structure being actually the batteries, we then have the Hornsdale A at a figure of $2.1 million, battery B was $3.4 million, and the Torrens Island $1.8 million per megawatt hour. So we can see that pumped hydro, using the Wivenhoe example and these 3 batteries here, that pumped hydro is significantly cheaper over the life of a system which would normally be 60 years compared to lithium batteries.